Modern gaming was approaching its inevitable reckoning as studios are failing to deliver on their promises. Big games are released half broken, needing to be patched 2 months or 2 years down the line.
Okay, she's walking up. Xbox.
Or maybe 2 seasons.
17 damage. 17 damage.
And the battle passes, oh my god, the battle passes!
Oh shit!
Needless to say, gamers are tired of being lied to and taken advantage of by predatory monetization schemes.
Fuck your greedy schemes.
The stage is set for Larian to kick down the door and show everyone how it is done.
I know you want to make the perfect game, but this is not the way! This is the way!
Baldur's Gate 3 took the internet by storm, immediately entering the gaming halls of legends. It has been years since the studio is this confident in their product and their audience that they would release a massive game like this with no strings attached. No paid early access, no on-release purchasable content, no 50GB patch before you even boot up the game. Larian just drops a masterpiece on your lap and tell you to have a good time. But successes like this don't just come out of nowhere. It is the culminations of decades of trial and error. And like FromSoft, Larian has their Sekiro to their Elden Ring as well. Allow me to introduce Divinity Original Sin 2. Now you will be treated to one of the best character creations in gaming. DOS2 has several original characters with beautiful intros, and a large chunk of the game revolves around them. Of course you can roleplay as your edgy lone wolf human ranger, but for most new players to the game, picking one of the named characters will help you follow the story. And in this game, Larian already knocked it out of the park with the music and voice acting. I mean, my god, listen to this.
I, the Red Prince, was raised within the vast palaces of the fabled Forbidden City. I was destined to become the next emperor.
Once I was a crusader for the Divine Order. I pledged my life to Lucian the Divine. Now I'm a mercenary killer. One of the infamous lone wolves.
Almost caused a bunch of my fans to rip each other to pieces.
The world of Divinity is vast with so many paths to take, and this vastness is reflected on how your character is built. You are given so many choices to experiment with. Admittedly, I was quite overwhelmed when I first started. There are 14 classes that all do different things. How do these spells work, and why do I have telekinesis? Now I want to roleplay as Magneto. If you come from Baldur's Gate 3, this might be a cakewalk. But for the first time player, you don't have to worry about it too much. Just pick what you like and roll with it. You can always respec later. In my first ever run, I didn't even know that I have to break the armor before I can apply the status effects. Or that I can manipulate the environment to my advantage. It made me wonder if there's anything I can say or do differently to alter the outcome of a quest or a fight. And with such a huge and rich world, it is no wonder people put hundreds and thousands of hours into this game. And mind you, this is a Larian game. Roleplaying is cool, but man, you can min-max to the heavens. You will see people posting strategy guides that push the RPG mechanics to the absolute limit. There is an achievement for defeating an important boss of a later arc on the tutorial island. But you will be just fine playing how you like. And this is where all the skills and classes shine. You can play as a fighter that wields magic, a mage that acts like a suicide bomber, or even a summoner of demons and totems. And that's not to mention the talent system that augments your player character even more. Some of those talents are mutually exclusive, and you get 1 point every few levels, so those are really important in shaping up your playstyle. Though all of these are mostly combat oriented, there's a persuasion stat that if you dump all of your points in, will let you strong arm a lot of conversations. There are strength, wits and perception checks in the game, though those are not that common. And sometimes you get unique dialogues based on your origin tags. A barbarian will react to a situation differently than a mystic or a noble. And because of that, you cannot experience everything on a single character in a single run.
Good God!
And the game never gets outpaced by you. Even in the end game, just a normal fight with grunts can still be lethal if you don't take it seriously. So each level up is a huge power spike for you, since the game will keep throwing tougher and tougher fights at you. Classes, stats, talents, tags, and spells created this amazing power fantasy that lets you roleplay to your heart's content while still challenges you and keeps you on your feet. DOS 2 opens with incredible art slides showing you its beautiful world. With soothing music, you see an old woman about to perform to a crowd.
It all happened like I knew it would. A single drop of source magic.
But then, things took a turn for the worse.
And like flies to honey, the monsters swarmed. The rebel panicked. The carnage began. And the magisters pointed their fingers at me. Just as I'd planned. I was shackled and collared. And sent to Fort Joy. I'd come here to kill Godwoken. But instead I became part of their story.
Immediately, the game introduces you to its premise. You are in a fantasy world where magic is fueled by source, and somehow this attracts the monsters. The source users are collared and shipped to a location called Fort Joy by the Magisters, and there are these Godwokens that are supposed to be killed. The opening sparks a lot of questions and sets you on a journey for answers. Why is magic being outlawed in a fantasy world? Who named the prison Fort Joy? And what on God's green earth is a Godwoken? The opening sets up the entire first arc in just under 2 minutes with a slideshow. And as the orchestral music fades, you woke up on a ship, collared like an animal.
So, still a bit groggy, are we? Don't worry, easy now.
After waking up on a ship to Fort Joy, you found yourself below deck.
The Divine Order's hospitality leaves much to be desired indeed.
Here, you will learn some very basic mechanics of environment manipulation, like picking and moving boxes. And when you're done with all that, go up the ladder and you can have a talk with Magister Siwa, register yourself, and get caught up in some commotion. Long story short, you wake up at the strand of Fort Joy Island and the proper tutorial begins. Now, the entirety of Fort Joy is open for you to explore.
This is Fort Joy.
Here you can meet all of the named characters on the ship. As it turns out, something also saved them from drowning too. From here, your goal is to escape the prison and eventually get off the island, back to the mainland. Alone or with a party. But worry not. You will get a second chance to form a party once you escape the island. During this time, you will have plenty of quests to do and NPCs to talk to.
You've just arrived, isn't that right?
You will slowly find out the truth about the world, who you are, why you are on that island, and the depth of depravity that people would go in the name of greater good. The game starts with the classic Chosen One trope, except you are literally chosen by your god, but not for the reason you would expect. You are then tasked with becoming the next divine. Basically Jesus of Rivellon, except you are not there to sacrifice yourself, but to beat up Satan the moment you see the bugger. The world of Divinity gives you freedom. Just like any good RPG, it allows you to go anywhere and do whatever you like, if you can get away with it. In Fort Joy, you will run into the camp boss, Griff, which is a genuine racist. Like, I'm not kidding, this guy is a straight up racist.
Perhaps if those bleeding dwarves didn't eat so much.
He is also the key figure of a few quests, some of which can be resolved by killing him. If you decide to kill him, you can run into his wife later in the game and you can either tell her that you guys had a fun chat or he's 6 feet under. Most of your actions have long-term and often unforeseeable consequences, forcing you to be much more conscious about who you kill and save, and my god, you can kill a whole lot of them.
Hurts, doesn't it?
Landing on the coast after a long and arduous fight, you make it to the mainland. With several quests in your journal, you make it to Driftwood, a town in Reaper Coast. You will meet with Maestra Siva to get a quest to advance your sword's magic. It entails that you must learn how to channel swords if you want to become the next divine. And you can follow the quest markers to all these locations, get to know all these masters and learn swords from them. But do you really though? You can actually dodge all of this and advance to the next part without learning any swords by messing up the quest for the individual masters. And the game actually accounts for it, though that will come back to bite you in the ass sooner than you think. And that's not to mention all of the branches of the side quests that you can do and mess up. All of these interactions build such an immersive experience. It makes you feel like you're actually there in the world of Divinity.
Imagine it, God-woken, a pure and perfect world.
Larian pushed the game engine to the utmost limit, designing the gameplay for Divinity. Right from the get-go, you are given the good stuff. 3 spells from 2 different skills. You will learn spells by acquiring the spell books for them, which can be pretty pricey, so it is tough to learn all of the spells without practicing some mercantile Krav Maga. But the sheer amount of spells that you can learn is mind-boggling. And all of these spells interact with each other. You can create puddles of water with rain, and then electrocute them with lightning bolt, or vaporize them with the fireball spell, igniting any puddle or cloud of poison, and you will get napalm. And you can summon demons based on the element on the ground. The buff spells are also vital. I cannot remember how many times just normal healings and shields of frost have saved my ass from a party wipe. While the spells absolutely stole the show, the weapons somewhat took a backseat. There aren't that many notable weapons in the game. Most of them are just different versions of a stock weapon. There are some unique weapons and shields, but they are hard to acquire and don't augment the game too much. The game's combat revolves around breaking enemies' armor and applying the correct status effect. A good freeze or shocked can skip their turn, while decaying will hurt them if they heal. Every fight is a chess match with the turn order decided by your and their initiative stat. And then there are spells like Teleport, which I'm sure you know what it does, and Nether Swap, which switches the locations of 2 visible objects. And that counts for NPCs and their corpses too. And in Divinity, although quite rare, there is a substance called Death Fog. And it is exactly as it sounds. Any living being exposed to Death Fog will die immediately, which pretty much makes it a nerve agent. Combining Teleport and Nether Swap with Death Fog, and you will have a horrific strategy to deal with a hard boss that you cannot beat normally. While many players, myself included, really enjoy the combat of Divinity, there's one complaint that is very prevalent in the community, which is that the enemies are telepathic. They know exactly who in your party is an undead if you have one, and always use heal against them. But other than that, the combat of Divinity is absolute masterclass. Really fun, engaging, and challenging. Finally, after a long journey, you set sail on the Lady Vengeance to return home, or embark on a new adventure. All the choices you made, people you have helped or slain, Did you make the right choice? Divinity 2 is one of the most engaging RPG experience I have ever had. The game gives you the choice to be who you are and do what you want to do, no matter the consequences. Divinity 2 poses many questions about morality and destiny while challenging you in all aspects of combat. The setting is so believable despite being a fantasy world. There are many memorable characters on your journey that will put a smile on your face when you remember them. I believe this game is more than deserved to stand on equal ground with Baldur's Gate in terms of being a masterpiece. I can't praise this game enough, and that is why if you like Baldur's Gate, you must try Divinity 2 out. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.